Hey guys, this is Victoria back to you with another review of Married at First Sight, Season 13, Episode 6, called Out of the Comfort Zone and Into the Sea. So, they are waking up, I believe, day 5 of marriage. Johnny and Bao, they're waking up with a pillow fort still in between both of them. Bao making a comment talking about whatever makes her husband happy. No, Bao, you wanted the fort there. Johnny been trying to get the fort out of the bed, the pillow fort, since night one. So that's really you, but whatever. Zach is still looking sick and miserable. He's saying that he's getting a little bit better, but he's just feeling so bad that he let Michaela down, and it's just like the Michaela will be okay. Like, she will be fine. And if she feels some type of way about that, to the point she's gonna be like, I'm divorcing him because he got COVID, then she shouldn't have been your wife in the first place. Michaela's saying she's missing him and whatever, so she still misses you. Okay, and clearly we're gonna see she'll be happy when you come back, from COVID. Anywho, move on to Mirla and Gil. Mirla makes a comment about Gil talking in his sleep. Gil's like, no one's ever told him that, and he sleeps around a lot of people. He's a firefighter, so obviously he sleeps with other guys in the firehouse and whatnot. So they never talked about him talking in his sleep. So I feel like maybe he might have made a little noise or so in his sleep, but you know how Mirla is. She brings things out of proportion and makes things bigger than what it is. So whatever. Mirla, no, Gil asks Mirla again about changing her last name. She doesn't want to, and she says, it's in remembrance of her father. And Gil tries to compromise and saying, what about hyphenating it? And she's just like, I guess how Mexicans do, because I believe they put their maiden name as their middle name and then their husband's last name as their last name. But she don't want to do that. She just says it's a no. And for me, I'm changing my last name. I changed my last name when I got married. But the thing is, for some things, the experiment, so to speak, that they're doing, and the fact that it's so early on, I wouldn't be too pressed about her not changing her last name. Even though this is Maryland, we talking about, we don't care for her. But on a serious note, it's like, it's the beginning. We don't know how it's gonna play out in 2 months. So I wouldn't be too pressed about changing the last name. Now, if you guys were to say, oh, we're gonna stay married after the 2 months, which I doubt that's gonna happen. But if they were to say that and were to stay married and continue on, then we could get more into the like, okay, are you gonna take my last name or not? If it was really that important, if it's really that important to Gil. But for right now, I don't think it's something too much for him to be pressing at this point in time, because you guys still got a lot of other things that's of more importance to figure out before we get to the whole name changing, in my personal opinion. So I'll let Mirla slide with that for now. But we move on to Johnny about having breakfast. They talk about the snoring thing again. Johnny thought she was just overreacting pretty much, and like it was like a petty disagreement. And he's just kind of like, is this the type of disagreements that they're gonna have? And if it's petty, but Bal's just like, I just want you to understand where I'm coming from and how it was really like something that bothered her. And I guess Johnny did understand, but he did was honest with her and saying if we were dating and stuff, he would have saw that as a red flag and would have already been back on the dating apps. And I'm just like, because she expressed concern that she was snoring. Like, I don't know. I know other people were kind of like, yeah, she was overreacting a little bit, but at the same time, if it's something that bothers her that much, I don't see it as her overreacting. Now, I guess because of the fact that um they just came from a nice dinner out and stuff, and she was making they just came from a nice dinner, and they're getting in bed, getting ready to go to sleep. So he felt like, okay, why are you bringing this up now? We're on such a high note from the dinner, the day, the picnic, or whatever. Why are you bringing this up? But for her, it's just like, because I know the next day you're going to probably make a joke about it again, and I don't want you to make no joke about it again. But at the same time, maybe it would have been best if he did bring it up again. She could just be like, hey, look, that's the third time you brought it up. That's it. That's a wrap. But also with Johnny, it's just like, you know, no one's perfect. You're always gonna find something with somebody that's kind of like a I don't really like that, but you're just gonna leave every time you find something wrong. In that case, you never gonna find nobody. And that's why you went on 100 first dates, Johnny. You and Ryan are like the same people, kind of in a sort of sense, because it's like you guys are so quick to be like, okay, I'm done because she's doing this and I don't like that, or it's a red flag for me because I'm not like that, so it's a problem with me. No. Everybody, even people who has the same, for the most part, interest of what you like to do and whatnot, you still gonna find, disagreements or differences in them because everybody's different. Even twins are different. Hello. But anywho, um she's just like, just went back to the whole, I hope you understand where I'm coming from. And then he asks her a question. Johnny asks her this foul question about the physical intimacy. And she just says, before, back and then, she used to have sex before she would get more into the person. Like, she's used to, like, in blatant terms, fucking first and talking later. So, she's working on that, but she feels like usually sex is more easier. Physical intimacy is better, more easier to obtain than other intimacy, like mental intimacy or something like that, to the effects of that. And Johnny was like kind of intrigued, and I'm just like, is it really easier to? I mean, I guess. To me, I'm just like, not. I guess. I mean, if that's the way she sees it, but to me, I'm just like, it's. I mean, technically, yes, because you could just fuck anybody, really. But to actually get to that point, I ain't just gonna be laying down with anybody. So to each their own. But she did tell Johnny that she always had a crush on him. Johnny was like, why did you never tell me? She's like, because I'm a coward. And Johnny was like, to be honest, if you told me that you liked me, then I probably would have told you I liked you back. And he's just like, so if we were to get together at that time, had you told me and all that stuff, because, he needs a female to tell him first. He's like, would we have kids by now? And she's like, maybe. And he didn't seem like he was too happy with her response, but it's just like, I mean, we don't know whether you guys would have stayed together. So, because the way she was back then, you probably would have been like, oh no, I'm gone. I'm on to the dating app, like you just said. So, you guys probably wouldn't even be together, to be honest, because the way Johnny is. Excuse me, I'm sorry. So, we move on to Rachel and Jose. They wake up making out because they just. That's the moral of Rachel and Jose. They just kissing all over the place, touching all over the place. More so Jose to Rachel than Rachel to Jose. I personally feel like. But Jose loves to touch, and he tells Rachel that he planned for them to go bike riding, and Rachel's like, I never learned how to ride a bike. And Jose was just like, "Oh goodness, my wife need training wheels." And Rachel seemed so offended about that, and because she already on the little independent type of thing, like I ain't a child, even though you kind of seem like you're a child with your little finances and getting upset because you can't ride a bike, because even in the confessional, Jose was like, "What the hell?" or something to that effect, and I'm just like, it ain't what the hell, Jose, because I take a little offense, okay? Because me, myself, and I don't know how to ride a bike. Listen, as Mel says with the whole little shower thing, which we'll get to later, riding a bike was not on my top priority. So I can ride a bike, but I can't ride a bike, if that makes sense. I can ride a bike, like, probably from here to there, but not, like, riding it to McDonald's and back. So yeah, I don't know how to ride a bike either. But I'd be willing to learn. But at the same time, I'm just like, I got a car. I don't need to ride a bike. But so he's just like, he could teach her, and then they move on. Rachel moves on quick. She just asks him questions that she wrote down in the book. I don't know if she was thinking about that overnight or whatever, but she asks him, um, before they have kids, where would he like to go? And he seems like he was thinking about it. And she says her dream trip is Switzerland, not Europe. The one that she used her credit card to go on the Europe is Switzerland. And he's just like, it's kind of like a lot of money. He's like, can we do something more domestically, Las Vegas, Nevada? Because Switzerland's a lot of money. Because he's very structured on his finances, which I understand. Rachel goes into the whole confessional talking about she go on trips every month, and then every 2 years she goes on a big trip. Are you still really? Because did you just say like last year you went to Europe with your credit card? So you already that's a big trip. I feel like any trip outside of the U.S., if you're living in the U.S., is a big trip. Anything outside of the country where you live at is a big trip to me personally. So you just went on to a big trip to Europe last year. I thought you just said you went on a big trip every 2 years. So you have a whole nother year to plan a trip somewhere else. And before you go on the next trip, shouldn't you pay off your credit card for the trip you went to Europe? Oh, okay. But you don't want to be treated like a kid. Okay, so she's just saying, it's going to be an adjustment to deal with that. Yes. Yes. Before you think about going on another trip, why don't you try paying off the trip you just went on last year to Europe? Because I know that thing wasn't cheap. I know that thing wasn't cheap. Europe. We move on to Brett. She has a fear of everything in the water. Because I guess Ryan has a plan for them to go. I don't know what it's called, but an activity on the water. They're like in kayak, I guess kayaking. But she has a fear of the water or the stuff that's in the water, so to speak. But she's going to try to do it, go along with it for Ryan. And she's willing as long as she does it together with Ryan. And says that if Ryan's calm, she'll be calm, which we see is not the case. He said if it's too much for her, they can go pick flowers or something because Ryan is sarcastically funny or tries to be sarcastically funny. Sometimes I'm just like it's not hitting where it's supposed to be hitting, right? But Brett just laughs it off. We move on to Johnny and Bow, and now people, whenever they said Bow, they're just like Bow, 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 and I didn't think about it until they said it, but now every time I see Bow, hear the word Bow, now see it's y'all fault. It's all the other reviewers' fault talking about Bow, Bow, Bow. See, now it's in my head. But anywho, they chill on the hammock. She tries to joke with him, saying, "Oh, there's other hammocks he could go on to." He's looking at her like, "Really, bitch?" But then she's just like, "She's just joking." I'm like, "Yeah, you better be joking." And so there's laying on the hammock, whatever. He's talking about he doesn't feel like she stays in the moment and that she overthinks a lot of things. And that the night before, when she was talking to him about the whole snoring situation, he had a flight or fight moment. That's usually the time where he will just be like, okay, he's done. And she says she feels like she's being judged because she saw it in his face when she was talking to him because, he was doing the whole wide eye thing. But she feels like she's being judged a little bit, but she's trying hard to better herself, and she just appreciates the fact that he's being straightforward with her. Cool. We get to Rachel and Jose going bike riding. He was, she does good, but he's like, he wanted to help her so bad. It seemed like he wanted to help her because when she first got on, he was just like, oh, I can help you. Let me walk beside you. He even put the little stand on his bike and said, no, I can help you. And Rachel's like, no, I got it. Because, she's so prideful about her independence. This is going to be the storyline for the whole season, that, her independence is everything, but yet you coming on the show to be married. And even though you could be independent and married, you got to give a little bit. Anywho, she seems to do fine. She says she can't do the turning or doesn't know how to stop. But for someone who doesn't know how to ride a bike, you seem like you knew how to ride a bike a little bit to me, because that would not have been me on the bike. Just saying. But the bike ride goes good. Then they go sit down, and she tells Jose that she's appreciative of him being so patient with her. And, Rachel brings up that she's nervous about them living together because she's so prideful of her independence. And she brings up the account thing again and doesn't like the fact that he was talking about one account. Like, she wants a separate account things. And Jose's rebuttal is just like, he's worked so hard for what he has and for his finances being so perfect. He's like, my credit score is near perfect. Like, do you want to know? Do you want to know? And she's just like, I mean, sure, whatever. So he's like, I think he said 850. I don't think he said 815 because I'm like, it's either he said 815 or 850. I think he said 850, and I thought 850 was a perfect credit score. Whatever. He in the 800s. Okay, you in the 800s. You there? Okay, no, I'm not there. You there though? And she's just like, wow, that's intimidating. And she's like, I think she asks him for is that what you kind of asked for when you came on the show, to be with someone who has that perfect credit score like you? And he was honest and was just like, he asked for someone that was on his level. Listen, when you get married, y'all credit scores and stuff combine. So of course he ain't trying to have his credit score dip because of your credit score in the 600s because you're just using credit cards to go to Europe. And I'm gonna keep bringing that up because because I'm pretty sure she done paid off. That's what I'm telling. This is why I said, Rachel, if for anything, at least while you with this guy for the next 2 months, I know there's not much you could do to a 600 credit score in 2 months, but let him build it up. Let him help you get debt free. If not anything, help him help you. That's my motto. Anyway, we get to Brett. She goes on the kayaking with Ryan to prove that she's not a scaredy cat, and they ride. Everything seems to be going well. A manatee comes up. Ryan is just like, dang, that's a baby manatee. Brett starts freaking out. She's just like, oh my gosh, 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 oh my gosh. And Ryan's just like, look at it. But Brett's like, she doesn't want to. Like, she's like, I see from my peripheral. And Ryan's just like getting a little frustrated. He's just like, just look at the damn manatee. It's not that big of a deal. But at the same time, Ryan, your wife is scared. Like, come on now. Like, I understand because he always does all these activities, so he just feels like it ain't nothing. But for Brett, that's what it is. She doesn't seem like the adventurous type. So if you want her to get on board with you, bro, you gotta be a little bit more chillax, more careful, more encouraging. Not just look, like, he didn't say it, but I felt like he was about to get to that point of just being like, just look at the damn manatee. But no, that's not how it is. He should have just been like, just try to look at it, or just don't look at it. Just keep looking forward, look at me, swim to me type of thing. And, Brett was just like, oh my gosh, if this manatee touches the boat or whatever that she's on, she's just gonna like flip out, even though she's already flipping out. But it seems to go smoothly. He's just kind of like, this is how it's gonna be. He's gonna have to try to work with her to be better. But Brett's just like, she likes that Ryan is bringing her out of her comfort zone and stuff because it's not what she's used to. But seeing how Ryan is, especially when we move on, Brett, you might have to compromise. So we move on to Bao and Johnny. They go parasailing. It looks like fun. After the parasailing, Johnny brings up them moving in together, and he's kind of a little nervous because he's never lived with anyone intimately, I guess, or actually roommate either, in like 8 years. And so he's nervous about sharing his space because he's very particular. But Bao is saying she's very particular as well, so they got to figure that out. Like any couple, that's nothing, that's nothing new. That's with every couple. But like he said, it's been 8 years, and he likes having his shoes a certain way. He doesn't have to worry about this being somewhere else. He can fart whenever he wants to. You're probably gonna fart whenever you want to once you guys start living together anyway, because it's far. Okay. We move on to the couples meeting up for cocktails. Zach FaceTimes Jose shirtless while the couples are there and saying he's feeling bad for ruining Michaela's honeymoon experience, but he feels better. And in the moment when he was saying that, Miller was saying in the background she isn't missing much because, it's a senior citizen resort, not like a resort that she's used to. So even me and Jill was just like, okay, can you just keep your thoughts to yourself? I guess it's making great TV because, you're making America know who you are, but not in a good way. But at the same time, I'm just tired of you talking. Stop with the complaining. We just tired. Just stop it. Shut up. Just drink a little cocktail or whatever and let the other people talk because you have nothing to bring to the table at this point. So they just talk about they feel bad for them, for Michaela and Zach and their, what they're having to experience. They all sit down for dinner. And I guess Jill's the person to ask the questions because here he goes, the one starting off the questions, the producer probably told him to ask. And everyone's talking about their experience and how's it been so far. And Gil says the princess is very particular So they haven't talked about finances yet because they were just talking about what they've talked about or what they need to talk about. So he calls her Little Miss Princess, and she seems to like that. And I'm just like, Mirla seems to me like the type of person that's gonna call her man daddy in bed. And I'm not even talking about like the zaddy. I'm like, no, just daddy. Sorry, the only person who gonna call me princess is my own father. Like, no, I'm my man's queen. Okay. I don't know how I feel about that, but anywho, and while they're seeing the dynamic of Jill and Mirla, everyone else seems to be looking at them like, I'm glad I'm not married to her. Or the guys are probably like, I'm glad I'm not married to her. The girls, I feel like they're 50-50. They're just like, she seems a little stiff, but, he got to work through those hurdles, so to speak. So then we get into the talk about political, because I believe Jill brought up, like, for them, if they were to have political differences, it wouldn't be a big deal to him, because I guess that was one of the questions some of Mirla's friends asked him maybe on the wedding night. And for him, it's not a big deal because you can have different opinions and different views and still be together. Marilyn was like, oh, hell no, that's a deal breaker for me. That's a deal breaker for me. Brett was saying in the confessional, she didn't say it really out loud, but she was saying in the confessional, like, her and Ryan has different political views. And I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to figure out, oh, Ryan's probably Republican. Brett's probably Democrat. And that kind of bothers her a little bit. But Ryan was kind of just like the same with Jill, Gil. I always mix it up, but he was on the same accord with Gil, talking about, it shouldn't hinder our relationship if we have different political views, but if you have a problem with my political views, then that's a deal breaker. And then Myrla was on the same accord saying, yeah, that's a deal breaker, because no, because even when Brett was talking about certain things, you could see Myrla talking about like doing like, yes, exactly, yes, and Rachel was like, well, when you're married, it's different. With friends, is something else. And Myrla was like, no, even with friends, it's like it's a no. We're not friends no more. And I'm just like, I mean, you would want someone who's on the same accord with you as far as views, values, and morals. But at the same time, it has happened where people do have different views, and it works out. So that's just a conversation you have to have with your significant other, or that's just a conversation you have to have with your friends. I have friends who have different political views as me. Technically, the only one, but I have a friend who has a different political view other than I do. Does that make us? No, it's just we just have different views, but we're still cool. So it just depends, I guess, on people's maturity and what they're so gun ho about, I guess. But we move on, and they're still talking. They're still talking about different things. They're talking about Johnny and Bauer are talking about Rachel and Jose. They're just so affectionate. And I guess Johnny asks, who has consummated the marriage. Everybody just looks around. I guess no one has consummated the marriage. Jill thinks Rachel and Jose are lying about consummating the marriage. Then it gets brought up of who you think out of the table is going to consummate the marriage first. Everybody's kind of going back and forth between Johnny Bao and Rachel and Jose. But then I guess Ryan was the one who pulled out the wild card saying Jill and Miller are going to be the ones to have sex first. And I'm just like, thank you, Ryan, for trying to help Jill out and getting some type of intimacy from his wife. But I don't think it's going to happen. You should probably have spent 24 hours with Mirla first before you were to make that wild card, Ryan. But thank you for trying to help Jill out, but it ain't gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. So we move on to Jill and Mirla walking on the beach or whatever. Mirla asked if she could take off her sandals because she doesn't like the sand in her sandals and her feet and all that stuff. And I'm just like, you have to ask Mirla. If you don't want the sandals on your feet, just take your sandals off. You didn't even have to ask. Jill was like, you want to put it in the bag? She's like, no, because that's going to put sand in the bag. Okay, whatever. But you didn't have to ask. You really didn't have to ask. So anywho, so they sit down, and I guess the waiter brings out some gelato because she was like, what is this? Ice cream gelato? He's like, it's gelato. She's like, is it vegan? Gil was like, really? And she's like, what? I can't eat dairy. And like I said, I understand if she has dietary restrictions, but at the same time, this is Marilyn we're talking about. So anything that comes out of her mouth for the most part annoys the hell out of me. So that's why it's kind of like I don't care. Eat a damn gelato. Damn it, you just gonna be in the back. Just eat the damn gelato. Um, it was a chocolate gelato. She complained about it's too chocolatey. Bitch, you eating a chocolate gelato. That's like I told my husband this too. I said that's like saying, "Oh, I'm eating ice cream, but it's too cold." Bitch, it's fucking ice cream. It's gonna be cold. It's a chocolate gelato. It's gonna be chocolatey. So I guess she meant to say too rich. It could have been the best gelato ever, and I bet you it's because where she's at, and it's not the perfect honeymoon that she gonna have a problem. Like, girl, like seriously, I don't know if I could deal with all with her shenanigans this whole season. This is just episode 6, and I'm already up to here with her. I cannot. But Gil was even annoyed. He's just like, why is she the way she is? He asked her that, and she's just like, she grew up dirt poor, and she just wanted better for herself because she never wants to go back to being dirt poor and not having money to do nothing. But she's always been a diva ever since she was little. So Gil's just like, okay. So he's still trying to just break down her walls to really get to the root of the reason why she's such a bitch. But I don't know if you can, Gil. You know, the only way you probably gonna get to the root is by having money, and you don't have that much money to help her get to the root. I don't know. But he talking about having 7 or 8 kids, and I'm just like, you still think about having kids with this chick? I guess he entertained the idea, but I'm just like, why would you even want to have one? But she's just like, she ain't having all that. It's not gonna happen. So then Joe's like, oh, it's not all gonna come from you. We gonna adopt. And she's like, no, I'm not gonna adopt. I'm not for adoption. And Joe's like, why not? She's just like, that's not something she sees. And she even said in the confessional, she's not gonna even think about adoption unless they couldn't physically have kids together. Now, once again, like I told you, I do not like Mirla. But me personally, I'm not a person. Me personally, okay. I Adoption is not on my high radar. I know a lot of people want to have one kid and then adopt. Me personally, that I don't see that for myself. So, hey, to each their own. So I don't disagree with her for that. I know for not wanting to adopt. But at the same time, this is Marilyn we're talking about. So, um, he goes back to talking about the kids, and she's just her reasoning is just she just wants to still live her lifestyle but have kids and give them the best of life she can. If you got 7 or 8 kids, that's gonna be a lot of money to keep up with her lifestyle and also making sure her kids have the best life. And she's just like, is he a trust fund baby? And he said no. And she's like, all right, so we're not doing that. Point blank period. And in my head, I'm like, y'all not even gonna be together for the 2 months, so this shouldn't even be a conversation, to be honest with you. So the couples get together on the boat, and they play Never Have I Ever. Ryan's just drinking because every time they mention something, he just starts drinking, and I'm just like, oh yeah, we know you adventurous, Ryan. Ain't nothing new. Even this, I guess the streaking was surprising for Gil, but I'm just like, now, if this nigga was a serial dater, calls himself a serial dater, that doesn't surprise me whatsoever. It's just like, all right, what else is new? Brett seems surprised too, but I'm just like, what else is new? So then they start talking about before the cheating part. Someone asked, "Never have I ever did something." Anyway, that wasn't important. So Bao asks, "Never have I ever cheated," and Mirla takes a drink. Rachel takes a drink. Jose was a little upset because he's just like, well, Gil looked at his wife like, yo. I'm just like, we know Mirla gonna cheat because if you ain't bringing the cash flow or helping her live the best lifestyle, she gonna be like, okay, on to the next one. But then technically, since she didn't technically break up with your ass, it's technically she cheated, but she probably just moved on to the next one without giving you any disregard that you ain't together no more. But anywho, Rachel takes a drink, and Jose was like, oh gosh, my wife is a cheater. Rachel was like, I was young and dumb. But it resonates with Jose because his father cheated on his mom. So that's kind of personal to him. So he didn't like all that. But He kind of takes it like, okay, all right, cool. So the men and the female split up before they go paddle boarding, and they talk, and it just goes sticks on the females of them talking, and pretty much they're just Rachel has an issue with the independence because Jose wants to do everything for her, and she's not really about that life, and she's so prideful of her independence. And excuse me, even Brett is just like, yeah, Con Ryan is the same way. He'll give me the coffee and whatever. But Mary's just like, she's okay with being provided for. She's okay with being treated as a princess, like she can't do nothing. And this is why I told y'all they should switch up these couples because this ain't making no sense. Jose should be with Mirla. Gil should be with Michaela because he seemed like he could handle her craziness. You see how he's handling Mirla. But Rachel should be with Zach. Now Johnny Bauer are good together. Brett and Ryan, I don't think they should be on the show. But they should just switch up the couples a little bit. But I did miss where they go paddleboarding. Ryan is just doing his own thing. Everybody was just like, yeah, that's Ryan. He's just like a pro at this. Yes, because he does these outdoor activities. This is Ryan is in his element, as they say. And Johnny gets on because Bow wanted to try it, so she does the paddleboarding. Johnny gets on. He's doing good, but then I guess he drifts off. Ryan offers to go get him, but he doesn't go get him. Johnny makes his way back, and Bao was relieved because she was getting a little nervous that he was like being far away. They thought a boat was going to hit him, but I'm just like, I can see from the boat was not going to hit him. But after the whole ordeal on the boat, Johnny and Bao gets back to the hotel. Johnny looks a little sore and tired, even though he said it doesn't really hit him until the next day. But nah, bro, it's starting to hit you already. And so they talk about living together. So it still makes Johnny nervous. And he mentions, no, Bao was actually the one who mentions Johnny likes to shower like 3 times a day. She don't really do that. For the most part, she showers every day. But if she's like sad, I guess in a funk, showering every day is not her top priority. And if she's tired, sometimes she's just gonna come home and go to sleep, even with the clothes she got on. And Johnny was just like, that's fine. We're just gonna have to change the sheets every night, or I mean, every morning. And Bao was just like, so if I come home and I don't want to shower and stuff, can I just sleep on the couch? And then Johnny was like, no, you can still sleep on the bed. It's just the next morning you're gonna have to be the one changing the sheets. And she's like, but I don't want to have to do that though. And then Johnny was like, okay, then just take a shower at night. He's like, it shouldn't be that much for you to just wash yourself off real quick. So I guess that's gonna be the little issue. We're gonna see a little bit next week too. That is gonna be a little bit of an issue. But my thoughts on that, like Johnny said, if you working out and stuff and you getting sweaty, then yeah, of course, like just take a little bit of shower, wash off. But if it's kind of like you was out at night, you coming home, you was in like dancing stuff, like you just went out for dinner, you come home, then I don't think you should have to. I mean, it just depends. It just depends. Johnny seems like a germaphobe, so it looks like even if they had sex, he would want them to take a shower afterwards because you're gonna be a little bit sweaty from sex, and he not gonna try to sleep with the sweat on the pillows and the sheets. But I don't. That's just something you're gonna have to compromise on. Like obviously, she can't just conform to you, Johnny. But at the same time, Bao, if you sweaty, if you take a shower. Anywho, we move on to the couples. They're waving to Zach. I guess Gil and Meryl are going out for dinner, and Rachel and Jose going out for dinner. They wave to Zach. He said he's feeling much better and he can't wait to see Michaela. But he's appreciative because Johnny and Ryan threw up some beers at him the night before. So they're just like, if you need us, let us know type of thing. Because, we have to make sure to see that Zach is still alive. So we move on to Jose and Rachel. And he's trying to pop a bottle for Rachel. Rachel wants to do it, but, Jose just like, I'm the man. As the man, I need to do this. Rachel looking at him like, we still on this shit? But she's like, no, I want to do it. So he just finally gives her the bottle. She's like, he wasn't doing it right anyway. Pops open the bottle, pours the glasses, and Jose is just like, oh, I was going to do that, but it's okay. Jose, we appreciate you for wanting to provide. But, at first I thought Rachel was a little crazy, saying she's not a kid and whatever. And the whole little brushing the teeth thing, I let that slide, Jose. I let it slide. But right now, you're starting to get my nerves. Oh, I was gonna pour that. It's okay, Jose. I could pour my own glass. Here's You have two extremes here. You have Jose, who's so much I gotta provide, I gotta provide. Then you have Rachel, who's so much I gotta be independent, I gotta be independent. I'm gonna need y'all two to compromise, okay? Because you clashing hard right now. You both clashing hard. You get my nerves. Y'all both starting to get my nerves a little bit. It's only episode 6. Y'all both starting to get my nerves a little bit because you guys are two on such opposite ends of the spectrum that it's like, okay, clearly you both can see that since I can see that from the TV. I'm gonna need you guys to try to work your way together to mesh because this ain't working out. So, they're talking. Rachel asks about sex. And from what I take from this conversation, it seems like she's the one who's ready to just go all in and have sex because they're already being affectionate and very intimate, openly, outside, inside, wherever. And it seems like Jose is a little hesitant. He says he needs his boxes checked off before they even get to that point because if his box is not checked off, it's not happening. Because Rachel, her fear is like they might not click sexually. They seem to be clicking everywhere else, but sexually because they haven't had sex yet. And I'm just like, Jose, what's the hold up? You was putting the condoms in the suitcase when you guys left for the honeymoon. Even though Rachel was like, that's not how you have kids. And I'm just like, Rachel, why are you trying to have unprotected sex with this guy already? But you seem to be willing to have sex, but I don't know. It just seems there's a reason why that he's not telling us, in my personal opinion. I don't know what that reason is, but if you're already being so affectionate and touchy feeling and stuff, what's the holdback of having sex? But then again, since she told him not to bring the condoms, maybe he's having a fear of getting her pregnant already. I don't know, but y'all gonna have to figure that out because she said she ain't trying to wait too long to have sex because if she does, then that's gonna be an issue with him holding back. And I agree, but at the same time, Rachel, you the one who trying to have unprotected sex already. So, I mean, to me, that would be a red flag for me too. Like, why you trying to? Because she already knew he was structured. She knew that no matter what, if she had kids with this guy, the kid's gonna be straight. Now, this is in my head. This is probably not what she's thinking in her head, but that's what I'm thinking in my head. Like, if you think about it, and some people are trifling like that. Oh, I'm going to have a kid by this guy because he got it financially, so we're going to be straight. I don't know, but we'll move on to Johnny and Bao. They sit down for lunch. Johnny talks with his dad and tells Bao about the conversation. And the first question the dad asked was, is he married? Did he get married? Johnny says, yeah, I got married. So then the next question that his dad asks, is she Asian? All right, dude, whatever. Like, I know how the Asian culture is with that. Not even the Asian culture, just a lot of people. A lot of parents want their kids to date someone of the same ethnicity as them. Okay. I'm not going to say too much about that, but I'm just like, so if he really were to marry like a white girl or something, like you going to be so butthurt that's like, no, F you. A little prejudiced and a little racist to me, but that's your daddy. He seemed relieved though, and him being relieved made Johnny relieved. All right, cool. Bao was happy for him. They kiss. Johnny tries to make the kiss more, intimate. Bao stops the kiss and giggles. And I think it's because of the cameras are there. I feel like if Johnny had her without the cameras, he would have been in that punani. In my person, he would have been hitting that thing. But, this is on TV and all that stuff. So Bao's trying a little bit more reserved. But you see, she used to have a one-night stand. She had a one-night stand before, so she's about it. And she said she used to do physical intimacy first. So she about it. But I think because it's on TV and stuff, she's a bit more reserved and moving slow because people won't watch this. But I feel like Johnny, just give her a little bit more time, and she seemed like she could work her way up to that. You should have probably gave her that kiss outside off the cameras. But okay, cool. Mirla gets Gil chocolate chip cookies, and Gil seems happy with that. First, when he was coming, he was like, "Where are you, darling?" And Mirla was like, "Darling." So I guess she might feel like she's too old if he calls her darling, because he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, princess," or something, and she seemed like better with that answer. like I said, it kind of seemed I ain't, no, weird. But he was appreciative of the chocolate chip cookies. He's like, chocolate chip cookies for him is like flowers to a female, and if you add in the champagne, that's like foreplay right there. And I'm just like, yo, you no, it's not. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. I understand you didn't get kissed from Mirla yet, so that's why you feel. It's not the same thing, bro. It's not. But so they talking. Mirla was like, I feel like we're less of strangers and stuff. So I guess that's a good thing, you know. All right, you starting to be a little less a pain in the ass. And Gil brings up his dog. Mirla was like, she don't do none of that dog stuff. You know, she ain't gonna be walking a dog. She ain't gonna be picking up dogs poop and none of that. And Gil was like, you know, it's disheartening for him. Marilyn was just like, what do you do when you're at work for 24 hours? And he's like, he has a dog walker to walk them. And she's like, okay, good. And he's like, but that's for his community where he currently lives. But he don't think the dog walker is going to go wherever they're going to live at. And Marilyn was like, okay, we could just hire someone. And Gil's like, that's just a waste of money. What's the point of doing that when there's someone able-bodied to do it at the house? And she's like, well, she just don't do dogs. She's like, she's not going to have responsibilities forced upon her, especially if it's something she don't want to do. And Gil's like, that's a problem for him. Listen, I think she did say she didn't ask for nobody with no dogs and stuff. And I'm just still trying to understand why the hell these experts thought it was a good idea to put Mirla on this show and not put her on Unmatchables. I'm really trying to figure that out because if she telling you all this stuff she won't and you put her with all the opposite stuff of what she won't, why do you think this is going to work? Because they could balance each other out. How many seasons, how many couples have you gone through with these, oh, they're opposites, but they could balance each other out? That doesn't work for you guys to realize this ain't going to work with them, especially with someone who's so high maintenance and so like, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, but someone who's so down to earth and chill and laid back. Like, no, experts, this is really y'all fault. I can't even blame Mirla because she told y'all what she wanted and y'all didn't do it. So I understand Jill, like, yeah, I'm with you, bro. I love dogs. So I would have been like, yeah, I want to get bound with a dog and take him out and the poop and all that stuff. And well, Mirla is just like, okay, that's not what you want, but this is what you got. So that's how you're gonna take it. We're just gonna pay for it. So your whole resolving for every issue is just pay for somebody to do it. All right, girl. Well, good luck with that with life, cause. Woo! Anywho, we're gonna move on to Brett and Ryan. They're chilling on the balcony, eating dinner. And Ryan just making a lot of sarcastic jokes. You know, what's new. And Brett brings up the politics thing. And like I said, Ryan's clearly Republican. Brett's probably Democrat. And Ryan just doesn't see it as a big deal. But he does appreciate Brett for bringing it up since it seemed to be bothering so much. But it is like, she brought it up, but what was there a resolution or whatever? Not really, but there always seems so dry and lackluster. And sometimes I feel like, Brett, I need you to touch Ryan's neck to see if he has a pulse. But we move on to Mirla and Gil again. She finally changed her pajamas for the last night of the honeymoon. I guess that's celebration for Mirla saying, finally, I'm not my last day in prison. I'm about to go back home. And she asks Gil what he's gonna do because Gil works 2 days of the week for 24 hours, so kind of like 48 hours of the week. And Gil's like, oh, I'm going to run my errands for the other days, you know. And she's just like, what errands? She's like, I don't be having errands. And Gil's like, yeah, because the errands that I do, you pay people to do. Throwing a little bit of shots. But other than that, Gil thinks the marriage is going to go easy. Mirla says she doesn't think it's like, she's like, what do you mean? It's not going to go easy because not from what I hear. It's never easy. And especially being married to you, Mirla, is not gonna be. We know that. Rachel tells Jose she's a little bit of a hoarder. Jose cringes when they like sitting down in bed, and I'm just like, why you giving this nigga all these? Like I understand she's being open with him and honest about how she is, but why are you telling him all these stuff, like all these things, like at night before he about to go to bed? Now he gonna be up at night thinking about this. Why can't you tell him during the day? Or gradually as time goes on, like he can find these things. I you know, kudos for being open. But at the same time, it's just like we about to go to sleep. I ain't trying to hear all that. And it ends with the couples leaving to go back to Houston. We're gonna have to see what happens next week. It seems like gonna be a little bit of drama. We're gonna see Hurricane K, probably category 2/3 coming out. Kudos to Zach. His shirt's still gonna be off next week. And that's it, guys. We'll see. But thank you for watching. And I'll see you for the next review. Bye.